Hello students, today we are going to learn how to exchange your pieces, which piece to exchange and when to exchange it. I will give you some guiding principles that will help you decide when to exchange the pieces and which piece to exchange. Let's start with the first one. When you have more material advantage than your opponent, then you should start looking to exchange your pieces. For example, if you are a pawn up, 2 pawns up, or if you are a piece up, you have more material than your opponent. Then it is best for you to start exchanging your pieces. And which piece to exchange? Ideally, you want to exchange all of your pieces. When you have more material, you want to exchange all of your pieces and go in the pawn endgame. Even when you are up 1 point, it will be easy for you to win the endgame when there are no pieces left. Power of your extra material will increase when the number of pieces on the board decreases. In this position, you can see that white is a pawn up. White has extra pawn, but all of black's pieces are very active. So black has some compensation for the loss of the pawn. And if you want to realize your material advantage, then you should start exchanging the pieces. So in this position, white played knight to e3. White is offering an exchange and one of these two pieces will get exchanged. If black exchanges our knight, then it's good. If black plays knight cross e3 after f cross e3, it is good for us. We have this center. In the next move, we are going to push the pawn, go d4, go e5, and we have a solid center. And if black does not exchange the piece, then we are going to take either his knight or his bishop. In this position, black played knight f4. Black wants to keep his knight active. So we start with knight cross f5. We have managed to exchange one pair of pieces. Black plays queen cross f5. And now this knight is active. So ideally, we want to exchange this knight too. That's why white plays pawn to g3. If black wants, black can go back, and this is also good for us because opponent's active knight is now not so active. And if black plays knight h3, then after king to g2, this knight is not going to do much. You can move your knight away, play bishop to g4, and you can target this knight. So after g3, black played knight cross e2, queen cross e2, and now one more piece has been exchanged. Black plays rook fd8 and white plays pawn to d4. And this pawn chain is blocking the diagonal of the bishop. Now the bishop on g7 is dead. It's not doing much. And this pawn chain is also restricting this knight. This knight cannot come to the center. Black plays rook ac8 and white plays rook fe1. White has the open file, so white is putting more pressure on this e7 pawn. Black plays e6. And now again, if you can, then you should exchange the pieces because you have more material. You are a pawn up. So white plays queen e4. When you have more material, then you should definitely exchange the queens. Black plays queen cross e4 and white plays rook cross e4. Because once the queen has been exchanged, black does not have a good counterplay. His bishop and knight are not doing anything. And what is your plan? You are going to play king f1, king e2, bring your king toward the center because the queens have been exchanged. You can develop your rook, and finally your plan is you want to play b3, pawn to c4, and push your pawns in the endgame. Now thanks to the extra pawn, white has big advantage in this position, and your plan is also simple. Bring your pieces toward the center and start pushing the pawn. Let's look at one more example. In this position, we are black and black is a pawn up. But white also has some good chances. White has a passed pawn on the 7th rank. White's rook is active and white's queen is also active in the center. So what should black do? Black should try to exchange the pieces, especially the queens. Because once the queens are off the board and we are in the end game, it will be easier for black to convert his extra pawn into a queen in the end game. So black plays queen to f3. Black wants to exchange the queens. And if white plays queen cross e5, then black has bishop b7. And in the next move, there is going to be a checkmate on the g2 square. That's why white does not have a choice. White must play queen cross f3. And now you play rook cross f3. You are attacking this pawn, you are a pawn up, and your pieces are also active. White plays knight c4, forking these two pawns. So when you have more material, what should you do? You should exchange the pieces. So it is best for black to play bishop cross c4. White plays b cross c4, and now you play rook c3. You are attacking this weakness, and white does not have a good way to prevent it. So white decides, let's counterattack with rook e1. He wants to counterattack here. We play rook cross c4 and white plays rook cross e5. Now this pawn is little dangerous, so black plays king f7. In the next move, black's idea is to play rook to d4. Once the rooks are exchanged, then it will be easier to take this pawn. And black is also threatening rook cross a4. And white cannot save both the threats. So black is easily winning in this position. Let's say he plays king g2. He tries to bring his king in the center. Now you can play rook d4, exchanging this rook. After rook cross d4, c cross d4, you are attacking this pawn. So white plays rook d5 and prevents it. Now you play king e6, threatening this rook. After rook cross d4, rook cross d7, and you are a pawn up in this position. You can try to target this pawn. You can play king d6, king c6, play b5, and this pawn will become a passed pawn. So as the pieces are exchanged, the power of the extra pawn increases. It is easier for you to convert that extra pawn in the queen. That's why whenever you have more material, you should try to exchange all of your pieces. Your ideal situation is to exchange all the pieces and go in the pawn endgame, where it will be super easy for you to convert that extra pawn in the queen. Now it's time to go to the next lesson.